The morning alarm blared, 6 a.m. John groaned, another day beginning. He always woke up to the smell of burnt toast, his wife Sarah not being a morning person. Stepping out of bed, he felt a strange sense of familiarity. He brushed it off, attributing it to the monotony of daily life. The day proceeded as usual. He commuted to his mundane office job, the same tired jokes exchanged with colleagues. He even had the chicken salad sandwich for lunch, just like he did every Tuesday. However, a nagging feeling lingered in the back of his mind. On his way home, he saw a little girl chasing a red ball across the street. The image struck him, feeling eerily familiar. He stopped in his tracks, heart pounding, as a chilling thought crossed his mind. As he walked through the door, Sarah greeted him with a warm smile. "You're late, honey. Burnt toast again." Her words echoed in his ears. They were the same words she uttered every single day. He looked around. Everything was in its place, the chipped mug on the counter, the stain on the rug. Something was terribly wrong. The next morning, John woke with a jolt. The feeling of dread was stronger. He watched Sarah fumble with the toaster, the smell of burnt bread filling the air. He decided to test his suspicions. "Hey Sarah, how about we try a new bakery today? For croissants?" Sarah paused, looking at him strangely. "But you hate croissants, John." John's blood ran cold. It was as if his world was a broken record. He went through the motions of the day, the feeling of unreality growing stronger. At work he tried to focus, but the unsettling events kept replaying in his mind. His colleague Mark cracked a joke about the coffee being terrible, just like he did every day. "John couldn't take it anymore, Mark. Haven't you said that joke already, like yesterday?" Mark gave him a puzzled look. "What are you talking about, John?" His words did little to quell John's growing fear. He felt like he was going insane. Walking back home, he saw the little girl again, chasing the same red ball. He rushed to her, a desperate plea escaping his lips. "Wait! Don't you remember? We did this yesterday." His words died in his throat as the girl stared back at him, her eyes wide with fear and confusion. Days turned into weeks, each one an eerie echo of the last. John was trapped in a horrifying cycle of repetition, every detail, every conversation, every mundane event replaying with unnerving precision. He tried to break free, to deviate from the script, but every attempt was futile. He tried explaining his predicament to Sarah, but she just dismissed it as stress. "You need a vacation, honey," she'd say, her words a chilling refrain. He tried changing his routine, his clothes, his lunch order, but nothing worked. The world around him seemed determined to keep him tethered to this agonizing loop. One day, in a moment of desperation, he decided to take a different route home. He walked for hours, his mind racing with possibilities. Maybe if he could just find something, anything different, it would break the cycle. But no matter how far he walked, how many turns he took, he always ended up back on his familiar street, the sight of his house filling him with a sense of dread and resignation. The world was a broken record, and he was the needle, forever trapped in the same groove. He was living the same day over and over again, but the worst part was nobody else seemed to notice. He was alone in his torment, a prisoner of time. John found himself observing his life as an outsider, a detached spectator in his own existence. He could predict every word, every action, every mundane detail. His life had become a cruel parody of its former self, a horrifying performance he couldn't escape. He tried to find solace in distractions. He read books, watched movies, but even those provided no escape. The stories always unfolded the same way, the characters uttering the same lines, their fates sealed in the unchanging narrative of his reality. He was trapped in amber, frozen in time, while the world around him continued to loop, oblivious to his plight. The vibrant colours of life had faded into a dull, repetitive monochrome. He started to question his sanity. Was he going mad? Or was this truly his reality now, an eternal recurrence of the same day? The fear that had initially gripped him slowly morphed into a numbing acceptance. What was the point of fighting? What was the point of hoping? He was a puppet, his strings controlled by an unseen force, dancing to a macabre melody only he could hear. Section 5. The clock ticks on. John lost track of how many times he had relived the same Tuesday. The once comforting rhythm of daily life had become a relentless tormentor. The ticking clock on the wall, once a mundane reminder of passing time, now mocked him with its ceaseless cycle. He began to notice subtle shifts in the loop, tiny discrepancies that offered a flicker of hope, only to be dashed away moments later. One day a different song played on the radio during his commute. His heart leaped with a glimmer of hope, but by the next loop the familiar tune was back. His brief respite, nothing but a cruel illusion. He tried to leave town, to escape the confines of his looped existence. He packed a bag, withdrew all his savings and boarded a bus. He stared out the window, watching the scenery change, a surge of adrenaline coursing through him. Could this be it? Had he finally broken free? But as the bus approached the city limits, a sense of foreboding washed over him. And just as he feared, the bus driver announced their arrival back at the station he had just left. His escape was nothing but another iteration of the loop, his hope crushed under the weight of his inescapable fate. Section 6. A Glimmer of Hope. One Tuesday, something extraordinary happened. As John sat at his desk, the phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize. He hesitated, a lifetime of repetitive conversations flashing before his eyes. But something compelled him to answer. "Hello?" he said, his voice raspy from disuse. A woman's voice, filled with urgency, responded, "John, is that you? I need your help. I think I'm trapped just like you." John's mind raced. Could it be? Was he not alone? The woman explained that she was experiencing the same looping Tuesday, the same horrifying repetition. They exchanged details, each confirmation sending chills down John's spine. For the first time since his ordeal began, a flicker of hope ignited within him. They decided to meet at the town square, a neutral location they both knew well from countless loops. As John made his way there, he couldn't shake the feeling that this was it, his chance to break free from the loop. He clung to the woman's words, her existence a beacon of hope in his otherwise desolate reality. Section 7. Desperation sets in. John arrived at the town square, his heart pounding with a mixture of fear and anticipation. He scanned the faces in the crowd, searching for the woman who held the key to his escape. Minutes turned into an agonizing hour, but she was nowhere to be found. He called her number again and again, but it went straight to voicemail. The hope that had blossomed in his chest withered, replaced by a crushing sense of despair. Was it all in his head? Had the loop played another cruel trick on him? Days turned into weeks, each loop a painful reminder of the phantom phone call and the elusive promise of escape. John fell deeper into despair, the memory of the woman's voice both a torment and a cruel tease. He was trapped, alone in his cyclical hell. The world around him continued its monotonous dance, oblivious to his suffering. He was a ghost, haunting the same day, forever tethered to a reality that refused to acknowledge his torment. Section 8. Acceptance and Fear. John stopped fighting. He accepted his fate, resigning himself to the endless loop. He went through the motions, his life a pale imitation of its former vibrancy. The fear that had once consumed him now coexisted with a strange sense of acceptance. He found a perverse comfort in the predictability of it all. The knowledge that no matter what he did, the loop would reset, and he would be back at the start of his personal purgatory. He was a prisoner of time, but in his acceptance he found a strange sense of freedom. But a new fear began to creep in, the fear of the unknown. What if the loop were to break? What if one day he woke up and it wasn't Tuesday anymore? What if the world he knew, the world that, despite its horrors, had become his prison, ceased to exist? The thought terrified him. He was a creature of habit, molded by the repetition. The prospect of a world beyond the loop, a world unburdened by the shackles of his cyclical existence, both terrified and intrigued him. Section 9. The Endless Loop, Tuesday, 6 a.m. The alarm blared. John opened his eyes, the familiar scent of burnt toast assaulting his senses. He went through the motions, each action, each word, a choreographed dance he knew by heart. As he drove to work, a song came on the radio, a song he had never heard before. He froze, his hand hovering over the dial. He listened intently, his heart pounding in his chest. Could this be it? Was this the break he had been waiting for? The song ended and the familiar traffic report began. John let out a sigh, a mixture of relief and disappointment washing over him. He was still trapped, but for how long? The question lingered in the air, unanswered, as he continued his drive, the unsettling melody of the unknown playing on a loop in his mind. He was left with a chilling certainty. The loop would continue, and he, a prisoner of his own existence, would be forced to relive the same day over and over again until the end of time. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like and subscribe to help the algorithm find these chilling stories.